The fact if you look at over my shoulder here, back there, there's a pillow and there's a red star over Oklahoma. We're in Prague, Oklahoma. Um,
Prague looks like Prague, but
Sounds
rhymes
like
with
Prague.
egg.
Yeah,
At my grandmother's house, she's 99.
yeah.
Um,
I'm glad that we apologize for the couple of minutes of dead air. I think eventually we'll get this right, but
maybe not.
yeah. In the meantime,
It's a goal for 2026.
yeah. In the meantime, look at this. Cute. Um, so
It's about 108 approximately in here. So we are wearing t-shirts because my grandmother's house is hot.
yeah, we're just as a heads up. We've been coming here to Oklahoma for Rachel and I have been together for 20 years. Technically, we've been together for 22 years, but married for 20 years. So we've been coming here
We don't
pretty
think that's
regularly.
why people are tuning in. Oh,
Yeah.
look, I could just okay, perfect.
Sounds good. So, look, we're going to go ahead and cover a couple of different topics. Mainly, I wanted to catch up on some geopolitics,
It's just a
some
question.
domestic politics. He's not.
Oh, okay.
He is.
I'm
He's
sorry, we won't be able to do questions because we can't see your questions.
driving cross country, and like my head's bigger than yours. Could we do something?
All right. Okay, let's get into it.
Really, wait, this is fun.
We're escaping to the big city today after this. So,
Like a Hallmark movie.
which means we just want to like breathe because
Wait,
did I mention it's really hot at my
this
grandmother's house?
this is like a Hallmark movie, right?
Yeah.
The girl from Oklahoma,
Yeah.
he's visiting, and then the
I
guy from the
I
city
actually
in New
grew up in
York.
the city. I mean, the city of a suburb, but I didn't grow up in a town of 2,500 people.
Well,
Okay.
we're
Nothing wrong
going
with it. Nothing wrong with small towns, but
we're going
um,
into Thanksgiving, so I guess we're going to keep it a little bit lighter, which is cool.
yeah.
You know,
So let's get into these illegal orders.
all right. So I think the first thing that's on my mind is, of course, something that's touching a couple of different folks. The six different veteran and national security leaders in the House and the Senate that have made a video and indicated that one of the fundamental obligations of folks serving in uniform is to obey the orders of those over them, but to disobey legal orders. It's kind of a fundamental um, point that is indoctrinated into officers, enlisted, anybody that serves any time in uniform ends up hearing this repeatedly. And in training and professional military education, this is something that gets repeated pretty often, whether it's the Nuremberg trials, the My Lai massacre in Vietnam, that an obligation is to disobey illegal orders. What that's touched off is a response from Stephen Miller and Hegseth and Trump, calling these national security leaders that have served in uniform, which is something that Donald Trump and Stephen Miller haven't done, and calling them seditionists, and calling for their hanging as seditionists. Um, it is an interesting. It's caused a tidal wave of responses. Certainly, a enormous amount of support. Most of these folks are not touchable by the Secretary of Defense because they didn't serve and retire. But Mark Kelly, Senator Kelly, did. So there's a idea of recalling Kelly to active duty. Good luck with that. It's a non-starter. The idea is that he gets prosecuted under the Uniform Code of Military Justice, and
Okay, can I just say you're getting just a little wonky in the weeds? I just want to point out something. If someone said, "Hey, Rachel Vindman, don't go out and murder people," I would say, "Okay, of course I'm not going to go out and murder people." It's weird. It's a weird response that their response to six congressmen and senators saying, "Don't, hey, members of the military don't follow legal orders," was like, "That's treason."
yeah,
No, that's like one to say, "Well, okay, we're not going to give illegal orders, so all good here." That's not what they said. They like freaked out and they're accusing people of treason for saying don't follow illegal orders.
I think that's one of the most thoughtful comments. Is any normal administration would be like, "That's right, don't follow legal orders, but follow all the legal orders that you are given." but that's not what this administration is doing because it sees the military as a blunt tool to be able to impose its will, just like it's doing with regards to ICE. So this is I'd say the last thing I'd mention on this is, of course, there's a rallying of support around Senator Kelly and these other excellent national security candidates.
I mean, she said she's under FBI
Sure.
investigation. They all are, but so far we've only heard about Senator
Crystal
Kelly and
Ruzio,
Senator.
Jason Crow, all of these folks are, by the way, are vote vets endorsed candidates and office holders. So part of our cohort, something that I work on getting veterans elected around the country. But in addition to the rallying of support from Democrats and independents, there has actually been some rallying of support from Republicans. Like, for instance, Lisa Murkowski has come on the record, and and a number of House members have come on the record supporting.
Comments meant more. I mean, she's right in this case. It's just that she's like it's, but there are a few, and I saw some comments on social media yesterday. Why aren't more people saying things? I think there are. I think it's kind of hard for the comments to break through, but
Mhm.
I think they do have support both publicly and privately. But it's not always breaking through on and being covered. But they are saying something. I think, and definitely quietly they are supporting their colleagues.
Mhm. So that I mean, this the other relevant topic or related topic is this is part of a battery of harassment to Trump critics, the opponent prosecutions, the dismissal of the cases against Jim Comey and Letitia James, are just dismissed out of hand because the prosecutor, the state's attorney, was not appointed and wasn't a valid state's attorney to be able to try those cases. There are a number of other challenges that are non-technical, technical and substantive.
Good because Lindsay Halligan's going to be able to go back to her real job, which is being, I think, a healthcare or personal injury attorney in Florida.
Awesome, plenty of work there. And then I think in a related manner, Eugene, my twin, has been the target of harassment. He's come out and led a rallying cry to release the transcript of or the call record of the Mohammed bin Salman call from 2018 after the Khashoggi murder, and that's resulted in the Department of Defense calling for an investigation into Eugene. Based on our years of work to try to bolster Ukraine's war efforts, the claim is that we received we received funds from Ukraine, and we didn't take a penny from any Ukrainian.
Oh, where it is, I'd like to know if it exists.
Millions of dollars, yeah.
Yeah.
No, didn't take a penny from any, yeah, any oligarchs, any Ukrainian entities, anything of that nature. But that's what they want to start an investigation into, really mainly as a distraction, in the same way they did with regards to Biden to taint, just through the announcement of investigation to taint opponents. That's their objective here. Um,
Revealed this right after you this kind of a list for everyone, and they're keeping it. And so they have anytime someone steps out of line or does something, they're ready. They're immediately ready to release something, some sort of derogatory information. That's how they're working. I mean, they are getting some people to be quiet. I think the horse is already, it's like, what do you say? I'm in Oklahoma.
left
I
the
should
barn.
know this. Yeah, I mean, it's closing the barn door once the horse is already out. So for the Vindmans, sorry, but that's not going to work. But it probably will work for others. This idea of intimidation, this idea of going after one's livelihood or making it difficult for them to do whatever they're doing. I mean, fortunately, Alex and Eugene are both doing things that, plus they didn't do anything wrong.
Squeaky clean Boy Scout
Yeah.
type stuff. But good luck. I'd say the other thing. Look, it's this won't work. To some folks, this is a potentially intimidating and looming that you could be the subject of federal investigations. I know that there's a concerted effort to go after, Democratic political institutions like Act Blue, some donors and things of that nature. But it's not going to work by with regards to intimidating us. And Eugene is going to continue the call to get this transcript released because it is quite damning, pretty heinous. And I would say that it was one of the two most shocking calls that Trump held with a foreign leader. And I would say that it would, at minimum, show Trump's duplicity. I'm not sure it's a revelation to anybody. Everybody knows that, but it also would kind of indicate that he might be subject to high crimes and misdemeanors because that if that was the start of the quid, where Trump delivered and exonerated MBS, the pro quo was the fact that he's enriched himself to the tunes of billions of dollars for Trump Inc. And that is a violation of the law. So
Getting to that, can I just move us on, use that as a segue? Why
you could do whatever you want.
I'm going to use nice words here. Why is Jared Kushner part of the negotiation deal with Russia?
Mm. He has, I mean, in the last go around, he was obviously a senior advisor. He has no role in this administration. And the only reason that
Doesn't have a security clearance because he can't qualify for one.
this is just flagrant corruption that that Jared Kushner could potentially serve as a conduit for Trump Inc. And resources coming in from the Russians, and is brought in by Kirill Dmitriev, who runs the Russian Sovereign Wealth Fund. That's the big enticement, is that there's money to be made, and I think that's the fundamental reason. Maybe if you were completely ignorant of history, you could, except for one thing, the Abraham Accords, you might somehow believe that um, Kushner is savvy and could actually get something done. But the reality is that he's unpracticed, incompetent, corrupt, and I think more than likely, in my view, he is just a way to potentially channel resources to a Trump corruption enterprise, just like he did with the $2 billion coming in from Saudi Arabia as the first term kind of wrapped up. So there, it doesn't make a huge amount of sense as to why he's involved, except
But who are they negotiating with? Go back to that because I think that's interesting. We were talking about it this morning. This Dmitriev guy, he's in charge of Russia's sovereign wealth fund,
yeah,
but
he is
I mean, it seems like it's about money because they only have money people negotiating. They have a developer in Steve Witkoff. They have Jared Kushner, who
mm,
I don't know what he does, but he makes money. I mean, even if people just give it to him.
their
And
venture
then,
capital.
and then they have this other guy, Dmitriev, who runs the sovereign wealth fund. So, like, where are the actual diplomats?
Well, so I think that this is the template for
This is
enga-
that's not really what I mean.
the template is for foreign powers to engage with the Trump administration through economic enticements. And that's why we see these players having such an outsized role, is what's in it for Trump directly. So I think, in terms of, just look at how this peace fiasco has unfolded. I mean, there's almost too much to keep track of, but I'll try to do a quick tally. It looks like the Russians passed a 28-point plan, um, that was translated into English to Witkoff, that adopted it. When this plan was leaked, uh, it became clear that it was a non-starter for Ukraine, harmful to U.S. national security. And then Rubio was brought in to try to see if there's a way to rationalize it and actually come together. The Ukrainians and the U.S. side coming together with a joint peace proposal. Turns out that whether it's the Russians or potentially the U.S. Leaking some call transcripts, that Witkoff has been maneuvering behind the scenes to manipulate Trump, both before this last Zelensky meeting at the White House, orchestrating the call with Putin that derailed the idea of providing tomahawks. Um, so that is deeply disturbing that you have close advisor, collaborating, colluding with the Russians to manipulate the president.
Why aren't Lavrov and Rubio at least? I mean, I still think Ukraine should be part of it, but wouldn't Lavrov and Rubio be the people to discuss it? Why all these other
So
extraneous
I think
people?
I think Yushakov, who's the foreign policy advisor, has been a fixture of foreign policy and negotiations for Russia. I think he might be involved in some of these negotiations in Geneva with Rubio. Um, no, correction, that's not true. What's happening in Geneva are the U.S. is negotiating with the Ukrainian side. After there's a confirmed deal, that's when Rubio is likely to take this to Yushikov and see if it's a possibility.
And
Reality is no, non-starter. I think this whole idea was as a uh, influence operation to achieve one of two things. One is Ukrainian capitulation, which is just not likely to happen. The Ukrainians are not going to throw their hands up in the air, even if the U.S. were to withdraw support. It would be put Ukraine under pressure. But the bigger play is actually to drive a wedge between the U.S. and Ukraine. That's what they're going for. If they could position this as a deal that Ukraine has to accept as an ultimatum, and Ukraine rejects it, then the U.S. potentially cuts off support for Ukraine and makes Russia's path in this war much easier. So that's what this whole thing is about. There is no appetite for Russia to negotiate at all. They still believe that they could achieve their maximalist objectives, which are Ukraine subordinated, Ukraine as a failed state, Ukraine weak, and not independent, back in Russia's orbit. And there's really no incentives for Russia to cooperate unless it's a full capitulation on this 28-point deal, which is not going to happen. So the Russians have proven themselves to be, as usual, pretty savvy, understanding how to manipulate, especially deeply flawed Trump Inc. You know, I wouldn't call them diplomats, operatives to advance Russia's aims. So that's the picture where we stand now. I think the next step is a rational approach with Rubio coming to terms with the Ukrainians. That being presented to the Russians saying, "Yeah, we're going to need some adjustments," and this whole thing was a needless fire drill that was deeply embarrassing, drove a wedge between us and the Ukrainians, us and the Europeans, made us look weak, and
if
I
it
think
makes
it was.
Rubio look weak, at least there's that.
I
I mean,
don't think Rubio looks like a hero in this case. It's Witkoff that looks particularly bad. Um,
I don't
and
think Rubio will look like a hero. He doesn't even like he said like six things on Saturday. He kept going.
that's
I
true.
mean, he probably has to see a chiropractor in Geneva because of all that whiplash.
Yeah, that's public facing. I think the reality is they're trying to take this 28-point deal and see if there's a way to come to an agreement and a joint position. Regardless, it's getting wildly.
When it's not, when nothing happens, so we go back to the status quo and what is going on. I mean, you were telling me the energy infrastructure in Ukraine, how many hours of, I mean, how many hours of heat or light or electricity do they have?
Oh, so I mean, look, this is basically where we were before this whole 28-point plan was proposed, but worse off because we continue to look unreliable. The Ukrainians are still attacking Russian infrastructure. They're holding the Russians at bay while giving up small tracts of land. But the cities are under enormous pressure because the energy infrastructure has been severely damaged, and there are kind of planned um, lengthy blackouts in Ukraine to make, and this is going to be a hard winter. So, from that standpoint, from a hit on Ukrainian morale, that we look unreliable, also problematic.
Incredibly
The
reliable.
the oh, the maybe the slightly positive, we'll see where this goes. The slightly positive development is that these frauds in the form of Witkoff are on thin ice, and that Trump's catering to Putin is creating a backlash in the Republican establishment. So senators and congressmen and the Republicans can't afford to lose many, are peeling away and being very, very critical of this approach. And I think that's maybe that could be a development. And it goes along with my theory that after this drubbing in our last election in November, that you could start to see Republicans peeling away and adding a bit of accountability and some guardrails to Trump's worst instincts. A couple of other quick but important things. There have been some of you might have caught the news around the Prime Minister of Japan saying that a war of aggression from China on Taiwan to seize Taiwan would directly implicate Japan's security and potentially draw Japan into the war. That was an interesting point because I think Japan has been uh, has employed what is referred to as strategic ambiguity. They were kind of non-committal in how they would respond. This was some clarity about the fact that Japan would be, was thinking through how they would be dragged into this war, and an ally in a scenario in which Taiwan needs to defend itself. The U.S. comes to its aid, and a bunch of other of our Asian allies would potentially uh, contribute to defeating China's efforts to seize Taiwan. Now, the bad part is that whereas Japan might have added clarity to how they'd respond, the U.S. has been entirely ambiguous on whether they would be willing to throw Taiwan under the bus and accept a Chinese takeover. But it's a developing situation. Adding a little bit of sharp rhetoric resulted in a call between President Xi and Trump. I think part of this is the fact that
It's like a pig staring at a wristwatch.
it is, but the Chinese made some grand claims on selling soybean or buying soybeans, and they haven't followed through. So it was a touch point to figure out if there's.
No, because they already have all they need
Yeah,
from Brazil.
they're getting it from other corners, but it's added a little attention. The other thing I'd mention here as we wind down is I think that the clock is ticking on the U.S. using much greater force against Venezuela. Right now, there have been some 20 strikes on boats off the coast of um, in the Caribbean off the coast of Venezuela. I think that we are with a carrier strike group in the region exiting the Thanksgiving holidays. There is a really quite a significant chance that the Venezuelans, Maduro is going to call Trump's bluff. The bluff being you need to leave the country, you need to flee, you need to end your regime or we'll attack. And with Maduro calling that bluff, not leaving, we might end up in the situation where the U.S. applies air power, more than likely to attack
And
the
what happens then?
regime. I mean, that could be entirely one-sided, where the U.S., with its advanced capabilities, has generally free reign. There is a scenario in which the Russian capabilities, air defense capabilities, may bring down some aircraft. I think it's not entirely a high probability, but that would create a scenario in which we have, we lose troops, you lose airmen, pilots. The worst case scenario is if we somehow are lulled into a this idea of an easy war, war optimism, and we do a ground campaign in a really quite substantial country, and we get bogged down into something much more harmful and damaging, in which we will lose U.S. troops. So that's I think thinking through what our objectives, what happens if we do topple the Maduro regime? Who takes over? Has there been enough done in order to plan for that kind of scenario? Is the opposition capable of taking charge in that kind of scenario? Not entirely clear. All we have is this idea of attacking the Maduro regime and no plans for the day after. So all in all, continuous pattern of chaos. I think the American public seems to be alert and unaware of this, and is rejecting it. We've got some special elections on the horizon over the course of the next weeks and months, and we'll see. I think a continued pattern of of rejection of this Trump chaos.
I think, what do you think the Republicans in Congress will say about Venezuela?
Well, I think there are a lot of Venezuela hawks. Rubio is one of them. I think,
That's like a South Florida thing.
yeah,
We live in South Florida when we're not in Oklahoma for Thanksgiving, and um,
yeah.
it's like its own little world. I mean, it kind of.
I think that
So Rubio is a Venezuela hawk.
the question, yes, I think maybe the question is who is going to be willing to rubber stamp a war that is frankly unconstitutional. Um, the president hasn't achieved a authorization for the use of military force, isn't operating on any legal basis to conduct this war, and does he get challenged on it? And I think that is, a little bit unclear if the Republicans are willing to show that kind of fortitude yet.
Mhm.
I think we're headed there, but I think, do we stumble into another
I don't
foolish
see
approach?
them. I don't see them preemptively.
Yeah,
So
that's probably right. I think for the next step is another series of mistakes before they make the correction.
still don't even know why. I saw Bridget ask a question. I can see some questions on my phone. I have it next to me. Like I'm watching, like you guys, and it just says like, why are they shooting people in the boat? I don't think anyone really knows, and I also think that's why. What was the guy, the admiral who left? What was his name?
Halsey,
What was
he was the Southcom commander.
what are we doing? I mean, I don't know this definitively, but I
I think
think there were
that's
some questions, and
informed
yeah,
speculation.
no one knows why, and we still don't know. And I don't think the mainstream media is talking about it enough and asking the questions. Why are you doing this? Like just a really straight up question of why are you
Yeah,
killing people in boats in the Caribbean? And
yeah.
I mean,
What's I think increasing. I think what's increasingly clear is that this is illegal, that the justification for these strikes is really nearly non-existent. The latest reporting suggests that it's the reason that we are conducting these strikes and they're legal is because Trump says they are, which is a really kind of absurd circular argument. But I think this is obviously one of those things that is out of the many different issues, um, the Russia Ukraine war, the various issues around the geopolitical issues in different corners of the world, the domestic chaos. This one really hasn't bubbled up to the top of the list yet.
we're just assassinating people who are like in boats, and we have there's no due process. We don't know what they're doing. And let's say there are 13 people or 7 people or whatever in a boat. And let's say they're all arrested and they're tried. I mean, they're not all going to be tried for the same things. And even if some of those are punishable by death, which I don't know, I mean, like running drugs is not punishable by death, no matter what Donald Trump's fantasies are. So that's just a fact. So they would not be punished by death, but certainly not all of them would be punished by death. So it's just really weird. I'm sorry, I'm a little bit like I want to go back to something. Ksenia said I saw a comment from Ksenia that we weren't discussing Ukraine. We actually did discuss Ukraine probably quite a bit at length, but I guess right now you'd have to go back and watch the whole thing. But
What we'll do is we'll post this afterward.
coming up a lot, it's been mentioned a lot. That is, could you just very briefly hit the high point? What is the corruption scandal facing Zelensky that I keep hearing people talk about?
Yeah. So
In these forms, because when I ask him otherwise, he gets distracted by something and he never answers me. So that's the amazing reason why we do these lives is because now he's a captive audience and he has to answer me.
so this has to do with some folks in Zelensky's orbit as part of the scheme. This has to do with about $100 million graft of resources going into the nuclear energy
When you say
state owned.
resources, do you mean money?
Yeah,
Okay.
$100 million being stolen by a deputy minister that is part of Ukraine's nuclear energy enterprise. And that is potentially one of the reasons that uh, there's knowing that these investigations are going to unfold. That was potentially one of the reasons why months back Zelensky was going to try to do away with the independence of some of these anti-corruption commissions and committees, and of course he was massively criticized for it. A reverse course on this, and now these commissions have revealed these investigations. So it is something that Zelensky is going to have to deal with. The fact is that some of the players are part of his orbit. Um, it's it's taking place in an enterprise that's critical to providing energy and power and heat to a country under enormous pressure with massive
I
damage.
mean, I think we can all
Mm,
agree that's a really
yeah, but
bad thing to do.
it is, and he's gonna have to deal with it. He's gonna have to do more
Like,
to
what kind of
address corruption.
person like makes $100 million when people are freezing and don't have food and in
So
danger?
this
Like,
is one
that's
of the
just
things that's a big issue. The other thing I'd
horribly
mention
human.
is, we the fact that I think there's some healthy signal here that maybe Zelensky was reluctant to let this be exposed, and he has to deal with this. But the fact that this is a scandal when in the U.S. it's no longer a scandal when Trump takes a $400 million
Point.
aircraft from Qatar and plans to keep it as his own. That he's part of numerous development schemes. He delivers absolution to the leader of Saudi Arabia in exchange for billions of dollars. That's not a scandal. Or these crypto schemes are not scandals. I mean, who has a healthier democracy? Who's looking to root out corruption? It doesn't look like us. And yes, this should be something that Zelensky manages and demonstrates to his population that he's actually working on this issue. But I wish we were doing more on this front also, on the anti-corruption.
I think it goes back to the Republicans. I mean, they know the thing. They know Venezuela is wrong. They know going into Venezuela, which I assume the end game is to oust Maduro, get someone who's more friendly in there, and steal the oil.
I think that's part of it.
But something
That's part of
is Venezuela part of OPEC?
it. Frankly, I don't recall. I think so, but I don't
Wondering
know.
how it would affect the price of OPEC. But I mean,
Somebody could correct us on that.
if they, sorry, I assume that's the play here. But like, obviously, someone's making money on it because they would never be doing this if there wasn't money to be made by the Trump regime. We'll know when they send Jared. That'll be the biggest tip
Okay.
when they send Jared.
Let's move over to something more important. What's on the menu for Thanksgiving? We've got first of all we got
Also, he can't say pecan. He says pecan. Pecan is a can of peas.
chocolate pie.
I'm gonna make a
We
chocolate pie.
get some pecan pie, which is what I like. We get some really delicious mashed potatoes and turkey. That's all on the plate.
Part of OPEC. Thank you for
Uh,
that.
thanks. So we've got more importantly, we're visiting with Rachel's 99-year-old grandmother, her aunt.
That's why we're wearing t-shirts because it's
Yeah,
very, very hot in her house, and she is constantly asking us if we're cold. Like, I guess the fact that I'm wearing a tank top and shorts is not tipping you off to the fact that I am indeed not cold. But
you were gonna go. What was your further dress down?
well, I was wearing shorts and a t-shirt, but I could escalate to a tank top, which I didn't have to do yesterday. So
Yeah, still several days ahead. So then we have cousins and
this is
nieces and nephews coming and stuff like that. So it's pretty awesome opportunity. Like all every
no pickles break for Thanksgiving. Whoever asked that question, we will have that probably for New Year's.
yeah. Yeah. So pretty good. This is an opportunity for us to take a break. I do have a article coming out on the peace talks this week. We'll probably do a short message on Thanksgiving also, and then probably take a break and focus on some desperately needed family time. Um,
Have more games that I have to beat Alex in, so he's going to be a little bit occupied with that. Listen, I won 2 games of Uno in a row yesterday, and then he won the next one. And he said because it was a longer game that somehow because he won that one and it was just longer, that counted as more. He will do anything to justify losing. We were both very competitive. So we have to work that into the pie making and turkey and everything. And obviously national security updates. But we just kind of quit there because I had to make dinner last night. But we'll probably go back and see who wins that best
Mhm.
3 out of 5, which is definitely going to be me, but we had to finish
Okay.
it
All
today.
right.
So anyway, thank you so much for joining us today, and we're gonna get this tech right. I mean, eventually we're going to be able to figure it out. But also, there are bandwidth issues in rural Oklahoma, so having both of us do this from different rooms would probably not be as good. But Thanksgiving, I mean, happy Thanksgiving to you and yours, to everyone. Um,
Happy
just
Thanksgiving.
enjoy your time with whoever you're with, and I hope that you have everything you need. And we're gonna get through this together. It's not easy. I know things are dark and things are really hard for people, but
Yeah, and then also maybe take that moment when you see somebody in need, pitch in and you know help them out.
don't give up.
Try to make it.
We're going to get through this. We're all going to get through this. And if you're going through something personally and you're feeling it personally, I hope that you are able to reach out for help. There is no shame in reaching out for help, and there are plenty of people who do want to help. And if you are able to help, please be a helper. It's going to take all of us to come out of this. And
I like
the
that.
good thing
Be
is we can
helper.
do it. Yep.
All
All
right.
right.
Sounds.
Bye. Happy
Thank.
Thanksgiving, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.